Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. This is episode 422, the Council on Future Conflicts. My name is Scott, the proprietor of the Future Conflict channel. Today, I'm joined by my trusty sidekick, Watcher. Watcher,
You know it.
it's just me and you, and you're in a hotel.
I am. Yeah. A nice
And
one.
you had a bad night's sleep.
Well, not tonight. Tonight was great. Yesterday
it was the night before, right? I know, but it's
yesterday night I checked into the cheapest, seediest hotel one has ever seen, and at around 1 a.m. the fire alarm ran out of batteries. So that's why I'm sleeping in another hotel room tonight.
Yes. Yeah, I don't blame you, brother. I mean, it's there's nothing worse, like, especially when you're doing like hours on the road, there's nothing worse than not getting a good night's sleep. I mean, there's a reason why, like, when I stay in a hotel and I'm on a trip and I don't have like a super hard time, but I know I've got, say, like 8-9 hours on the road ahead of me, I don't even set an alarm. I just wake up when I wake up. And that way I get a good amount of sleep.
Yeah, it was 19 hours total, so I'm not too broke up that I had to get a hotel, but still.
Right on. Well, I'm sorry that you had a bad night's sleep the other night, but hey, I could see Judge Maddie's just trying to trigger you.
There it is. The ceiling bird's back.
Damn it all. Yeah, it's tough, and it just happens, but ultimately you get through it. Makes you stronger, all that kind of stuff. If you're looking at the thumbnail and you're curious as to what a bunch of tanks just sitting around in a field means, well, that's exactly what a bunch of tanks sitting around in the field what you think they would mean. It's like
that's
these
also
guys are getting ready to go.
That's also a pretty distinctive tank.
Pretty distinctive tank. Yes, exactly right. Not a whole lot of tanks have a door in the back. Looking at the chat, welcome everybody. A lot of regular folks, regulars in the chat. Appreciate you guys for being here. It is, of course, it's Domestic Friday, but anytime you're on the, I was saying, Watcher, before the show started, I mean, we could literally have this Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon occur like while we're on the show. I mean, probably not today. Actually, it'll probably be early morning, like dark 30 type of thing. But it could literally happen at any time. They're mobilizing reserve units, which is pretty meaningful in the Israeli context. So it's interesting, and evidently, there's some pressure by Russia to tell Iran to just lay off, and so there's a lot of interesting kind of things happen. One of the stories in the Israel-Hezbollah segment, it will be about basically Russia saying we've always had Israel's back. This is Lavrov saying that. I'm kind of like, okay, that's an interesting take, but so anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. But first up, Watch, you want to talk us through? This is Joe kind of introduced this the other day, and I want to make sure that we're getting it all out there. The Northwest Montana Veterans Stand Down,
certainly.
What is this? This is October 5th and 6th.
And if you are a veteran in the Pacific Northwest and are even if you're not struggling with something, come on down, because they'd like your companionship, to be very honest. But if you are having a hard time, you guys are getting free haircuts and free clothing and socks and underwear. You guys are going to get free box lunches to take away, as well as food there. Dog and cat food, if that's what you need. They're going to give you some medical aid if that's what you need. They have the ability to I think they're going to have like
a lot of resources in one location.
Doctors. There's going to be employers there from the local area who are looking to hire veterans for a job on the spot. So there's free bus transportation there if you're having an issue making it. All you got to do is make it to the actually, you can see there's a couple different places listed, but they're going to have bus service rotating throughout the entire period. If you are not disabled and you don't need help, might as well give a call and see if you're in the area, give a call, because I'm sure they could use some volunteers to come out and help distribute food and distribute clothing. So
yeah, this is good. And while this is local to Montana, our good buddy Joe will be taking part with this. These are happening everywhere, right? I'm sure all 50 states have similar types of efforts. Some are at the local, some are at the state level, some are regional. So if you're inclined, but you're not in Montana, look out in your local area and see where you've got organizations like this where veterans. And the cool thing about it is there tends to be a fairly good, when it comes to just supporting vets in a very kind of honest and open way like this, it tends to be, a little more bipartisan, and there are not a whole lot of bipartisan things left in the world. And supporting the veterans is one of those things I think that everybody who is a right thinking American can get behind.
Agreed, Scott. Agreed.
And it's there's in this current age, there's so few things that everybody can just kind of say, well, that's a no-brainer. So, but then again, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, and there are morons out there who would disagree with me, but still.
Well, here's one that agrees with you and paid $5 to do so.
Anybody in Michigan, there is a veterans charity 8-mile backpack ruck happening in Brighton, Michigan tomorrow. It's through Veterans Connected. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So definitely get out there. And this kind of gets to that, we talked about this on Wednesday a little bit. The adjacent, while these are bipartisan events, I bet that there's a good 80% of the people at a veterans event are pretty sympathetic to a lot of the viewpoints that we hold. So this is another kind of way to get out there and make
bridge divides,
right, and build the community, right? And then you guys are all clued in. I know my audience is very clued in, but there's a lot of people out there that may be ripe to hearing the message, but that kind of, I hate to be a message, the evangelical effort of preparedness, right?
Yes.
That's really what we're talking about here. Prepared for what? Well, we don't know, but that's just it, right? Being
everything.
prepared
That's a Boy Scout motto. Come on.
Well, that's why the whole zombie thing was so popular back in the 2000s, was that, like, if you're prepared for the zombie apocalypse, then you're probably good. Like, no matter what else happens. Wow. All right. But some people did take that a bit far. All right, let's jump right into it, Watcher. We've got we've got several things to talk about today. The list of stories is a little longer than I expected when I started putting all this together. But just to kind of like caveat off of the last show, we talked about immigration, and we talked about some of the problems, of that immigration brings. I thought this was an interesting kind of coda to Wednesday's show. Immigration does not work, not even economically. German government needs 10 billion more euros in welfare payments than initial forecasted. You don't say.
It's almost like that in the modern world, what modern economies need is not unskilled labor, and that unskilled labor is actually largely a drain on the larger system.
That's right. That's
weird.
Exactly right. German federal government has miscalculated billions in welfare payments known as citizens' money. With their initial estimate, the irony of giving welfare to illegal immigrants called citizens' money. There's probably a German techno pop song in there somewhere. With their initial estimate of 36 billion euros, God, that's a lot of money. Falling short of the 46 billion reportedly needed. In documents obtained by the Bild newspaper, the German Labor Ministry assumes an average of 2.9 million people are in need of welfare parents in the documents for the 2005 budget. The huge discrepancy has sparked outrage, but Hubert Heils, the SPD Labor Ministry, told Bild that the figures published are not comprehensible and are not methodologically based on several false assumptions. Okay, well, yeah, okay. The huge sums paid out due to citizens' money has become politically explosive subject. Shocking, right? I mean, I mean, think about it. Watcher, if we said that we were going to give an additional $10 million to illegal immigrants to just pay for things, right? People would be absolutely rattling the chains. But, here it's just the way it is in Germany. Now, that being said, it's not that this isn't happening in America. They just don't tell you how much they're spending. This is the hotels and all this kind of stuff that's popping up, that are being turned into immigrant barracks, right? Let's see. Second, due to the fact that the German economy is facing a huge worker shortage, and a third, due to a huge number of foreigners taking advantage of this welfare system, as half of all recipients are foreigners, and many of the others who are German citizens also have migrant backgrounds. Immigration doesn't work, not even economically. And if one were to differentiate between German based on their migration background, the picture would be even more devastating. This is a member of AfD in the European Parliament. Let's see. Yeah, and there's and the interesting thing is look at this chart. If you scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
Actually, you've got to read his thing. You got to go over to X because then you get the translation.
It's all fuzzy. Yeah. Before we do that, I just got to say, hey Doc, sorry to hear about that, man. CIDP is no joke, man. Sorry to hear about that, man.
He says that the immigration doesn't work, not even economically, and if one were to differentiate between Germans based on their migration background, the picture would even be more devastating. So if you look here, this is basically telling you where the people getting the money are coming from. The biggest part is Ukraine. So 65% of Ukrainians there are on public assistance. Syrians, Afghans. Actually, the sad thing is that the Ukrainians are bigger, kind of
proportion,
than even Afghans and Iranians and the Turks. I mean, Iraqis and then the Turks and then Germans. So 5.3% of Germans are on the public assistance. So this is. I mean, it's just this is the if we don't learn somebody else's lessons, then we're just gonna do it on our own, I guess. We'll do it live.
I'm happy you pointed this out, and it's a good metric for us to know. But never forget that the enemy knows this. The purpose of bringing these people in was never to actually benefit the economy. It was to punish the lower classes who had turned against them.
Well, and it's the other part of it is to show people that you can be replaced, type thing.
Yep.
Let's see. This is a scandal he had. Let's see. This is a Christian Haas said Hale is deliberately budgeting for false figures in order to conceal the problems with the citizens' allowance. This is a scandal, he says. Let's see. The ruling left liberal government continues to lie to itself, and the budget will blow up in its face. The party is now recommending mass deportations totaling 1.3 million people to plug the budget hole. The funny thing is that when you come down to it, whether it's a ideological, cultural, or like what you see, Trump is basically saying, hey, America's for America, and so we shouldn't have illegals come in, so we're going to mass deport, right? Eventually, even normal liberals come to them, but for them, it's not an ideological thing. It's like, listen, we're just out of money, so if we're going to get rid of people, we're going to get rid of the illegal aliens, right? And so this is where the mass deportations comes in, and ultimately, they're using it just to plug the budget hole. Let's see. Stormy's got a member chat for 24 months. In my country at DSS, you have to prove that you are homeless because the funds are so thinly spread. Yeah, that's in my county. I'm sorry. That's a country. Yes, Stormy, you are in the same country as Watcher and everybody else here. So nice to see you there, by the way. Watcher, I'll let you kind of close us out on this.
Well, nothing will change until these people are removed from power. Kicking and screaming is that it's going to have to be. They do not care about the economics of the situation. They do not care about what they purport to care about, which is the morals of the situation. They care nothing for these immigrants. They wouldn't stack them on top of each other in filthy living conditions and allow their children to be trafficked the way they are if they did. No, they don't care about any of that. This is 100% about power and control and breaking up cultural blocks that would be able to resist them. So,
and creating new cultural blocks that are beholden to them, so that they can then control them.
Fight it for what it is, not what they proclaim it is.
Yeah, this is right. All right.
Actually, I do kind of want to add one thing on here. A lot of people, yes, they are hoping for some amount of, we owe it to the Central Powers, but I don't think they're banking on it. I think that would just be a nice bonus for them. Mostly, they just want the conflict between the two groups, because even if these immigrants come in and don't think that they owe these globalists anything, they can still use them very easily by just dangling different incentives in front of them in order to. They're a wedge. They're a very effective wedge that can be driven into any society.
100% right. 100% right. Moving on to our next topic, leaving the immigrants in the dust. This picture will never not be funny to me. This is that Taliban picture right after the Taliban took over. Taliban wants to join the BRICS, seeks invitation to Russia's upcoming summit. I mean, surprise, surprise, surprise. We fought the Russians, but now we want to join their club because all the other, Gulf nations have joined the club. Before I read the story, any watcher, any thoughts on this?
Talk about awkward meals. Exactly, I'm just picturing that first BRICS summit with them sitting down in the room and tossing.
Well, the problem is the Taliban, when they hear about the BRICS club, they're thinking that they bring a brick because they're going to be stoning somebody.
Right.
But
no, talk about an awkward relationship there. Wonder how many of these people have Mujahideen ancestors. Just it's just a
try all of them. And some of these guys are probably old enough to have fought in both wars. You never know. Despite not being formally recognized by any country, the Taliban government of Afghanistan is now seeking to join the BRICS Economic Forum. That would be interesting, right? How could you not be recognized by a country but then join an international organization of said countries that have not? Anyway, countries with major resources in the world, biggest economies, are associated with the BRICS Forum, especially Russia, India, and China. Oddly enough, India and China both border Afghanistan, and Russia is not far away. It makes sense as far as a regional kind of alliance bloc type thing. And the Taliban would love to get some China, India, and Russian money coming into their country. But alas, countries like Pakistan stand there basically ready to say niet to them.
Well, I will say that if I think it'll probably go through.
I think so too.
All of the BRICS
you just got to make the deal.
All of the BRICS nations want the natural resources of Afghanistan, particularly their rare earth mineral deposits are kind of unbelievably large and undeveloped. So it's it's going to be an interesting thing to see if they hold off, but I don't see any reason why they would.
Let's see. Currently, we have good economic ties and commercial exchanges with them. We are keen to expand our relations and participate in the economic forums of the BRICS. So the interesting thing is they haven't been invited yet, but what they're doing is they're kind of like fishing for an invitation. So it would be interesting to see if that eventually happens. While the Taliban government has not been formally recognized, China and Russia have come close, given that they have both hosted Taliban delegates for talks, and they maintain embassies in Kabul even after the U.S. NATO pullout in August 2021. Go ahead.
I see something in our chat that I want to address. Juan Cholo says, and trade in all those beautiful poppies. That would have been true. That would have been true. But a very interesting thing happened while no one was watching. The Taliban wanted to be taken more seriously as a government, and they banned heroin. And they legitimately banned heroin. They actually went and started killing a bunch of the producers. But here's the deal. They didn't ban heroin because they're good guys and everything. They just found out that they could make a fuck ton more money by growing ephedrine in the highlands and then producing methamphetamine.
So the interesting thing, if you look back in Afghanistan in the 90s, they made a lot of money from the U.S. by getting rid of. They're basically completely zeroed out the opium trade in the 90s because they were able to be from the administration for doing that.
And it mostly went over the border into Pakistan, and then after the fall of after Abbey Gate and everything, it came back. It came back with a rush, and it was there.
Well, no. You got it mixed. So the I haven't thought about Afghanistan much in the last few years.
Well, I just watched a thing on this last night. I should pull it up. Whoever that was.
I'm trying to remember the name of the Taliban ain't big pharma. The Haqqani network. The Haqqani network was the one that kind of they brought the Afghan poppy trade into Pakistan and the tribal regions. Mm-hmm. And then when Afghanistan blew up after 9/11, they were the ones that kind of pioneered. And then all the Taliban groups essentially used the poppy trade, specifically the Pashtun areas, used the poppy trade to fund their terror operations in Afghanistan. And then now that the Taliban's back in, they can say, no, we're going to get rid of the poppies. And I think the exact same thing will happen. I think the poppy and trade will move over back to Pakistan
So here's what has ended up happening is that they transitioned a lot of those highland poppy farmers to growing ephedrine, because ephedrine, the high quality ephedrine, which is the base ingredient for methamphetamine, grows excellently at the type of altitudes that they're at. And then slowly over the last year, they've started squeezing those ephedrine producers. But again, not because they want to get out of the methamphetamine business, but because they've started to import synthetics to be able to make it out of. And now they can just cut those farmers out of the line entirely.
Yeah. By the way, if you weren't tracking, ephedrine is not just a chemical. That's an actual plant. So, I mean, a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that until a couple of years ago. So it was, it's something that is So that's what the Watcher's talking about. So I just USA Ursa Theodoros for $20 says, "Good morning, CSE. Nothing follows. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. That is a very generous contribution to the war fund. We appreciate your support." I mean, so let me get back over here to this. Let's see. BRICS includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and has recently inducted members Iran, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia. China and Russia have remained the two major regional Asian powers who show willingness to invest in Afghanistan and potentially tap its significant natural resources. Both have also welcomed the Taliban's fight against rival extremist terror group ISIS-K. But the Afghan Taliban's formal inclusion in BRICS might prove an embarrassment to the bloc, for at the moment is presenting itself as a counterbalance to unipolar tendencies of the United States.
How would it be embarrassing? I'm not sure I track their argument here. Yes, I get, having those go, well, I don't want to get this banned off YouTube, but
the Taliban in the BRICS this is the answer to at least to this author's argument. The Taliban and BRICS would present Washington with low-hanging fruit, which could be used to denigrate BRICS on the world stage, especially in light of U.S. anger at growing China, Russia, India cooperation, basically using as a cudgel to beat BRICS over the head with.
I'm going to point out that only matters if people respect the word of the United States. And I know you can't see it, but I'm looking around right now. Ain't nobody gives two shits what we think.
Well, let's be honest. The oligarchs in Europe care what the oligarchs in America think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they've totally proven that over the last decade, for sure.
Well, because they're the same thing, though. This is kind of like the Uniparty, right? You know, it's like the Europe, the Pan-Atlantic Uniparty. You know, are the ones who potentially could use that, but it's not that they wouldn't do the exact same thing, right? It's like we'll make fun of Russia and China for working with the Taliban until we give them aid, right? And then we'll stop because now they're working for us.
Look, I just don't think, but they could use it to make fun of us and say we're working with drug dealers is really gonna affect any of the nations involved here at all, in the slightest.
All right. Yeah, Ursula Theodorus, man, is generous. I wish I could share these Rumble rants over on StreamYard. That's if StreamYards needs to work on one thing, I think that would be it. I mean, actually, there's a lot of things StreamYards need to work on, but that would be one.
Rumble integration's near the top. I agree.
All right. Let's see. Let's look. This next one is a good one. This is a good one. For all those doom and gloomers out there that think that China is, those guys are, we can't do anything about them. They're the up and coming power, and they're serious, right? China covered up sinking of newest cutting-edge nuclear-powered submarine. It's so cutting edge that it went right to the bottom. A senior U.S. defense official has said in a Wall Street Journal bombshell report that China's newest, highly touted and cutting-edge nuclear-powered submarine has sank in a shipyard near Wuhan. It has to be Wuhan, doesn't it? It was to be the newest sub to join China's fleet of 6 nuclear-powered attack submarines. The sinking, which reportedly occurred in either May or early summer, constitute a serious setback for the PLA's the PLA Navy, which was rapidly sought to expand their naval power and technology. President Xi has for years been overseeing a modernization of the PLA Navy. The U.S. official has further said that China is seeking to cover up the incident. It's not surprising that the PLA Navy would try to conceal the fact that the first in-class nuclear power submarine sank pierside. The senior U.S. defense official, who remains anonymous, told the Wall Street Journal, question watcher, do you think somebody outside of China had anything to do with this?
So you're asking, do I think is this Chinese incompetence or
right? I know what I think, but I want to get what you think first.
I think experimental ships are experimental, and that the quality of Chinese productions doesn't increase when it's for a government contract.
I think it's incompetence. I don't think another country sabotaged them. Though exactly that being said, there was an interesting. This is kind of like an aside. There was an interesting story that popped up today that said that purposefully defective welds were detected in many ships built in the last few years.
Chinese ships?
No, American ships.
Apparently
there's a big investigation going on about that. I saw it as like a tweet or something like that. I didn't see it as a full story. So
weirdly, I'd be willing to blame their issue on incompetence, but I think that they are just competent enough to have inspired our sabotage issues.
Yeah, I honestly think because our shipping actually makes sense to want to sabotage it. So. Peter Shays Helicopter Tours for $5 says, since the withdrawal, the U.S. has been paying Taliban at least $40 million in cash per week. Some weeks it's more. Haqqani make passports, and the Bin Ladens pay families of GWAT terrorists with U.S. money. I'm curious. I don't know. I don't have a source on Taliban getting money. Let's see what we can find on that real quick.
While you do, Mr. Anti-Commie, no, I'm not missing the opportunity. That Deep Sea Horizons thing had nothing to do with sabotage. That was as the interview that was given recently points out, it was 100% incompetence on the part of the ownership.
Now I'm going to share my screen here real quick. This is in response to what Pinochet's helicopter said. Now I'm not a fan of ProPublica, but that's the first one I found here. UN has flown more than 2.9 billion in cash to Afghanistan since the Taliban seized power, diverting U.S. funds.
Yep. Yeah.
Ultimately, I can't imagine U.S. funds get diverted in the UN without the U.S. giving the thumbs up to that. So, interesting. All right, back to the Chinese stuff.
At least the under the table head nod, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. Let's see. Neither the Chinese. Some else is concerned whether or not it was carrying nuclear fuel at the time of the sinking. Neither the Chinese government nor the PLA have commented on the loss of the sub and are unlikely to.
How could it not have been? How could it not have been? Look, if it was under its own power,
well, that's just it. If it was pure side, I would assume it's in there. I can't imagine they would launch it without loading it, but maybe I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Maybe we've got some kind of crazy design, but I know that some designs for a lot of stuff, those reactors are put in such a way that refueling requires major modifications to the ship in order to access it.
Yeah, I thought you had to dry dock them in order to put fuel rods in and out.
That is my understanding.
Regional tensions have soared since given the U.S. has recently inked some controversial defense deal to bolster Australia's naval defense. Yeah, I mean, the AUKUS is a thing, and they're going to deliver submarines in the next 10 years. Okay, that's mañana, enough. Pinochet's helicopters for $5. This is over in Rumble. Otherwise, I'd be sharing it. 9/11 families get nothing. Our State Department hates its people. You want a source? Yeah. No. I just did look it up. Yeah, we found that that at least 2.3 billion has gone being funneled. The sad thing is they don't even own it, right? They don't even do it directly. They kind of give it to the UN, and then the UN so it's being laundered, which makes it even worse because then it's dirty money. I'm just saying that I didn't know about it. I had heard that it was happening. I just didn't see anything that says, hey, but I was able to find it pretty quick. Let's see.
Well, I will say that I kind of see which way this is going, and I will say before we get celebratory, remember that the Navy just got credibly accused of beginning to build ships that were less than 50% finished in the design phase, and whose designs could not possibly have built a finished ship. And yet they're building it, and they haven't stopped building it. They're actively still currently, while I am talking, there is somebody welding onto a ship that never finished the design process and will not float when it's done.
What ship are you talking about?
This is that new destroyer class that we've been going through. I'll send you the Binkov thing on it or later, but it's
I didn't think that
huge fucking scandal right now.
I didn't think that they actually settled
they didn't. You're correct, they didn't. But because of the way that the Navy was clearing off the plans, they essentially said, "Hey, they submitted the plans to us," and then their internal thing said, "Yep, that's finished and it's 100%." And so then the shipyard went, "All right, well, let's start building." It's been going for 6 months now.
What do you know what they're calling the class?
Let me check real quick.
It's not that I don't believe you. I just want to see this.
No. It's fine. It's the hold on. Just go over to Binkov's. In fact, if you guys don't know about Binkov, let me just put this on screen. Binkov is an excellent resource. Why U.S. military shipbuilding's in crisis, and then I will look through here and find the name of it.
Okay. Let's see. Of course, China has been critical of the AUKUS. Beijing has sharply criticized the move, saying it will encourage an arms race. Increasingly, Russia and China have patrolled Pacific regional waters together in order to flex their collective muscle against the U.S. and its allies. Well, I mean, big surprise there, right? I mean, this is not something that I would totally expect. This kind of a response from China. China just doesn't like it when we do things, and we don't like it when they do things. It's kind of like just the way it is.
It's the FREMM class frigate.
Oh, this is the frigate. This is based off of
There's European designed frigates.
Yeah, that's already at sea. So I mean, the whole form is actually already designed. I think it's
but our modifications to it do not work. Like
the problem is
not a completed ship.
They keep changing the design. This is that kind of requirement creep.
The Constellation class. There it is. Yeah. That's what we were talking about.
Uncle Bob's
This was supposed to be our answer to all these Navy light. Remember what you and I were talking about before. This was supposed to be our answer to all those. Oh, they have these light tonnage ships, but there's a shit ton of them, and we can't deal with them. This was going to be the answer.
I think the answer to this is that most of their carriers are designed to be regional carriers and not like essentially global blue water.
I wonder what this sub was designed to be, though. I get that it's an experiment.
Well, it's an attack sub. It's probably a kind of like our what's the current class of
the Los Angeles class?
Well, no, that's the old one. That's like the Tom Clancy days.
Oh, you're talking about the Seawolf.
No, the Seawolf's after that, but then there's the one after the Seawolf. Chat, what is the current class of attack submarines? I have forgotten it.
I'm Googling. Virginia
class. There we go. That's right. Yeah, see, I knew that chat would square us away. Yeah, this is that whole FG frigate project. The sad thing is this frigate will be, even as bad as it is, it's way better than the what is it?
The
LCS combat ship, LCS. Yeah. Fuck.
A large enough rubber duck is better than an LCS, Scott.
That's true. All right. Let us now. So this is the point at which we take a breath. We've been talking about some stressful things here. Yeah. So hide that.
Yeah. Let me get this queued up and ready. I also got to get points.
So there, you can say that AI has no purpose. You can say that it's terrible. This is honestly the best contribution to American culture I've seen by AI in a good long time. And it's a country song. It's definitely the best country song by AI I've ever heard. I assume it's AI, but who knows? It just may be a bad.
Oh, it is. It is. It is, which is why I have.
And I blame Trump. I'm sorry. I blame Watcher for this because he's the one that brought this up. Though I thought it was funny. Can you turn the sounds up a little bit?
Yeah.
In the heart of the Keystone State, a rally was set. The Lord knew his fate. Old Trump was speaking, not a care in that night. When the shots rang out, he yelled, "Fight, fight, fight!" Bulletproof, bulletproof, that's the truth.
I like he's wearing a suit. Head to the boot. Oh my God.
So, but the question is, now that we know he's bulletproof, is he rocket proof?
Well, I mean, clearly all the rockets that are flying in the Middle East, I don't think that there'll be any rockets left when this Hezbollah, Israel thing is over with. But let's see what
we've got some reports here, which says 2 independent sources have provided corroborating reporting to our team, stating that 9 surface-to-air missiles have entered the U.S. through a New Mexico border port of entry. The intended recipient of these weapons are 3 teams operating in the U.S., whose intent is to target President Trump's airplane. As Doc stated, the appropriate authorities have been notified. I'm posting this in conjunction with Doc Pete Chambers, since he's gone public with the info. I've been seeing this from multiple different places. I don't have these sources, so I can't confirm them. So I'm reporting this as a rumor.
Yeah, exactly right. Take this with a giant grain of salt, but let's just also say this aligns pretty well with what we've always kind of said, as far as there are forces that are going after Trump, and some are domestic and some are foreign. And Trump has been talking about Iran is going after him. These stingers very well could have come out of a Ukrainian weapons vault originally.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm just assuming they're stingers.
I mean, technically, I suppose they could be Starstreaks, but who knows?
They could be Russian, like SA-7s, SA-14s, something like that.
Potentially. But I think it's a very good look, man. It's not as if we have already been told essentially by the State Department that the Ukrainians are trying to kill Trump or anything. Weird.
Yeah. It's problematic, Watcher. Hey, real quick, before we jump into our main segment for the day, it could be a javelin, maybe. Yeah. A javelin would probably be pretty effective when a plane is taking off or landing.
Yeah, they won't get to high altitudes, but if you get them at the airport, yep,
100%. So before we jump into our main segment tonight, just real quick, tactical-wisdom.com. Joe's out there making the world safe for all of us. He's got a family commitment today, otherwise he'd be here. And so if he's not here, we still like to talk nice about him. If you want to jerk his chain a little bit today, tell him that Sibley wants to know where this short story is. That might be a fun little
well, you guys all want to know where
experiment we could do today. Sure. Actually, Watcher, why don't you do that? Why don't you go on X real quick for everybody? And
I don't know that I want to torture poor story. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
No, what are you talking about? I'm the one that's on YouTube asking the chat to do it. I'm going to get in trouble no matter what. I will also do it too, but anyway, definitely check out tactical-wisdom.com. He's got a new column out that really kind of talks about kind of connections and meeting people. I mean, he's written about this before, but he did another kind of journeyman effort to get out there and make a good argument as to why you've got to get out there and meet people, make those personal connections. Here's the thing, right? Those personal connections are your insurance policies, right? They're the people who, have all kinds of skills that you don't know about, right? And a lot of times you don't even know you need a skill until you find somebody who's a master carpenter or who is, any number of 100 things that are useful when things get tough.
Facts. And it's the type of thing where
is this the Scott version saying there's a sniper who wants to go across the street and flush him out? Juan Cholo, you go on across the street. Let's see. JSUP member for 24 months. Joe was good on Lieutenant Colonel Murray's Rumble show. He made Lieutenant Colonel less grumpy. That's good. Grumpy Lieutenant Colonels are never a good thing. They're the people who stand there and just kind of scowl at you across the room and keep all the majors typing very, very animatedly at their computers.
You have indeed been voluntold, sir.
We both clicked on that one at the same time. All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, oh no, Maggie Smith died.
Uh-oh.
You know who she is?
No.
She was the Countess of Grantham on Downton Abbey. Sorry, yes, I watched.
Okay. I know who Maggie Smith is.
Yeah, and she's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, she's in Harry Potter.
Yeah, she was. That's right. She was in Harry Potter. The other thing I want to kind of just hit on again is if you guys haven't, Professor McGonagall, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. I read the first Harry Potter book, and it was only because my girlfriend at the time read it. And I was
well, I won't give you too much shit about it because that's the exact reason that I read the first Twilight book, and we'll just leave it at that.
I never
different eras, different era, Scott. Different era, Scott.
Well, I guess the Twilight didn't come out until the 2000s, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was already going off to war and stuff by then. I was back to reading Warhammer only novels by that time.
Oh, good shit.
Yeah, I was reading Gaunt's Ghost when I was in Iraq, so that was my kind of like I go out and combat and then come back to relax by reading about conflict in 40,000 years in the future. All right. If you haven't done it already, please go and check out the free. It's absolutely free. You know what? I'm just going to drop the link right in the chat for the comic itself.
28, right?
29 pages of of our new comic that we're doing in conjunction with Blaine Pardoe and Brent Evans. It's Land and Sea Paradise. If you're a regular on the show, you're tracking. You know about this, but I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you guys to get it. This is a link to the PDF in Google Drive, right? So this is, literally you can just download the PDF directly. If you click on that link, it will literally open up as a comic book in your browser, and you can check that out. So I appreciate if you guys check it out. And here's the thing: even if comics and stuff like that aren't your thing, just give it a look and let me know what you think of it. I literally haven't got any feedback yet. I've asked a bunch of people for feedback, and so I take it back. Blaine gave me some feedback; it was very good. And I got a couple other things. So but these are all from people that are more on the inside. I'd love to get people like you, especially like if you're a random, for instance, Stormy, right? Stormy reads Twilight, I bet. She's probably not a land and sea kind of gal, but I'd love to hear what somebody like she thinks about it, or Squishy Hunter, right? What do you think about it? Or Juan Cello, since you're going to be voluntold, if I'll volunteer you to click on this link and let me know what you think of the comic. All right. That's all I'm asking. All right. And then feel free to hit me up over on X in the DMs if you want to give me a good or bad review. That's fine. All right. That's all I got on that.
Well, let's
see. The war that's most likely to break out in the next week.
Oh, what you mean potentially the next 20 minutes, but
also
next week.
Right. I'm kind of like I've been burned a lot. Like, I'll be honest with you. I thought Iran was going to attack Israel after the assassination thing, but they kind of, they kind of switched it up. Iran usually is trigger happy, but they didn't really do much. We covered this on Wednesday, and there's a lot of fallout.
Oh, hold on. Stop. There's something that I got to say.
Yes.
Praise be to you, James E. May everyone in chat follow your example. Sorry. Yeah,
the first Land and Sea book, Land and Sea is a great series. It's way more sci-fi than like Blue Dawn, but it's just old school, I guess sci-fi action, military sci-fi type thing. It kind of, in a way, there's some things that remind me of like Hammer Slammers.
Yes, stuff like very, very Hammer Slammers in the best possible way. Yeah, and
I think there's a good comparison between Blaine's and David Drake's writing styles. So, all right.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut us off at the knees there. It's just
no, that's all right. We haven't got started
someone praising Blaine's work. praise someone praising Blaine's work.
Amen. Netanyahu vows to use full force against Hezbollah and Dems hope for a ceasefire. Yeah, Netanyahu ain't playing. And the guy who basically bombed Hamas back into the Stone Age is getting ready to turn his Sauron's eye on Hezbollah. And we've already seen that happening. And I don't think we're going to see it stop anytime soon. Netanyahu on Thursday vowed to carry out full force strikes against Hezbollah until it ceases firing rockets across the border, dimming hopes of a ceasefire proposal put forth by the U.S. and European officials.
I just have to pause for a second and say that the following has ruined the word full force for me forever. He's going to go full force, Chad.
Israel carried out a new strike in the Lebanon's capital, which killed a senior Hezbollah commander, and the militant group launched dozens of rockets into Israel. Tens of thousands of Israeli and Lebanese people living near their country's border have been displaced by the fighting. Netanyahu spoke as he arrived in New York to attend the annual gathering of world leaders in the UN General Assembly, where the U.S. and European officials were putting heavy pressure on both sides of the conflict to accept a proposed 21-day halt in fighting to give time for diplomacy and avert all-out war. I mean, let's be honest. Has Hezbollah shown any interest whatsoever in backing away from this ledge? I don't think so. Hezbollah has really been the one that's been calling for it.
Yeah.
Ever since October 7th.
Correct. And honestly, it seems like the more out of place and unable to wield power they get, the more they seem to be calling for, hey, let's just sloppily run ahead with this war anyways.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where Hezbollah is coming from, honestly. You know, you could say maybe it's because they're true believers. You know, maybe it's because
I think they're trying
maybe
to
they know something we don't know.
I think they're trying to force their allies to rescue them, in my opinion. They don't want to be. They don't want to be written off completely, and so, hey, we're in bad enough trouble. You actually have to get off your ass, Iran.
Yeah, Peter says helicopter tours for $5 over in Rumble. Says Scott just played Marcus Allen's closing statement to Congress. The Democrats must be seething after the black ex-FBI agent tells Americans to build community, store food. Yeah, I saw that. That was just recent too, wasn't it?
I believe so. I haven't seen the clip.
That was something that's recent. Yeah, I haven't seen the clip, but I've seen tweets about it on X, posts about it on X. I'm trying to get away from Twitter. It'll never happen though. Netanyahu spoke when he arrived in New York to attend the annual gathering of world leaders in the UN General Assembly, where U.S. and European officials were putting heavy pressure on both sides of the conflict to accept a proposed 21-day halt in the fighting to give time for diplomacy and avert all-out war. Nearly 700 people have been killed in Lebanon this week as Israel dramatically escalated strikes, saying that it's targeting military capacity of Hezbollah. The Iranian-backed Shia group is the strongest armed force in Lebanon. Israeli leaders say that they have determined to stop the group's cross-border attacks, which began after the Hamas militant group's August 7th attack that ignited the war in Gaza. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear what and why Israel's doing what they're doing. And I'll be honest with you, I think the way they've gone about it is pretty damn smart.
I agree. In fact, it's been clean and targeted enough that it exposes those who, let's just say, don't support Israel for other than political reasons.
Yeah. Well, this is the kind of feckless, well, I wouldn't say feckless. That's probably not the right word. Probably wishy-washy kind of advice you're getting from other places outside of Israel. This is Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says, another full-scale war could be devastating for both Israel and Lebanon. Now, that's true. It could be these things, but he's thinking from a standpoint of just like, of just the level of destruction. But ultimately, even with, the associated destruction, it could be a long-term win for Israel as far as when it comes to securing their northern flank. One of Netanyahu's far-right governing partners threatened to suspend cooperation with his government if it signs into a temporary ceasefire. So maybe there's a reason why. With Hezbollah, and to quit completely if a permanent deal is reached. It would be the latest sign of displeasure in Netanyahu's allies towards international ceasefire efforts. That's interesting that there are some like really significant opposition to any kind of vacillation or conciliatory.
I think that's excellent. I'm sorry, I do. The fact that there are people who see a problem and are unwilling to allow the world to continue
to be uncompromising,
solved is it's heartening.
I know, but with politicians, like literally, compromise is literally the bread and butter of politicians, and to see them not compromising is heartening. Now, I just wish American politicians could do the same thing.
And I wonder how much of this is. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. I think no matter what happens here, this is Bibi's last term, right?
Yeah, this is probably his last.
He's getting old enough, right? And so he doesn't have to care as much.
Yeah, I wonder if he's been. I wonder if he's been the president, or what is it? Prime Minister? What is he? Is he president? Yeah, Prime Minister. I wonder if he's been Prime Minister longer than anybody else, because it seems like every other term was his for the last 20 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the Putin of Israeli politics. Always get
pretty much. Pretty
All
much.
Right. Let's move on to the next one here. So, as if to kind of back up any kind of, this is a post over an X with some video. It's always nice to have a little bit of just a visual cue on what's happening. There's a 113, and then I think we go straight to Humvee after this. The interesting thing about it, Israelis use so much of our gear, it's just kind of.
It almost looks like our guys a lot of times.
It's almost like our,
You have to pick out the yarmulkes, and even then.
The headline to this is IDF mobilized 2 reserve brigades for operational missions in the northern sector, which is in and around the Lebanese border. And so the way the Israeli military works, if I remember correctly, it's essentially it's a conscript military for active duty, but then you kind of graduate from the active duty into reserve duty. And then the reserves are the ones that are the guys who kind of do it regularly, not full time, but they do it more than our reserves do. And they become so your most experienced troops are the ones that are in the reserves.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite.
I as far as I understand it, the bulk of their military potential numbers are reserve units as well.
Yeah, that's
how it all breaks down.
Right. Yeah. If you break glass in time of war, it's mostly reserves. I'm just clicking on Clash Report to see if there's anything new popping out of there.
And obligatory. Here's where the thumbnail came from, Chad.
That's right. Thousands of
Israelis. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ready for ground invasion of Lebanon. The idea. Yeah. This is the. Hold on. So let me open this one up here. I thought this was a good pick. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's an excellent pick.
The IDF has deployed thousands of soldiers on the northern border, preparing for a potential ground invasion of Lebanon. And they're in that the I don't remember what the name of the general that is in charge of kind of their version of the Joint Chief of Staff. He was actually doing battlefield circulation and was saying that yes, expect to be fighting in southern Lebanon. So 3 divisions transferred from Gaza are now stationed in the north, awaiting orders to advance. Israeli airstrikes continue targeting Hezbollah, causing hundreds of casualties as IDF aims to dismantle the group's infrastructure. Meanwhile, thousands of Lebanese civilians fleeing the conflict zone amidst escalating violence. Yeah, I mean, and we've seen it. The Israelis said, "Listen, get out. If you live near Hezbollah weapons, get out now, because we're not gonna stand for it." And they didn't give you days; they gave you hours.
Punches will not be pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, the kind of pre-fires and pre-positioning that they've done is unbelievably impressive. I think that we all said when October 7th happened that if Hezbollah had joined in that particular attack and Iran had joined in that, they'd be in a lot of trouble. And I believe we still felt that they'd be in a lot of trouble against Hamas if Hezbollah did jump in even in the later stages. The way that they have turned around this conflict is remarkable.
This is interesting, right? I'm sorry. This is I'm going to share the link so you can share it, because this is Netanyahu at the UN. Evidently, he's
while we're talking.
Yeah, he was speaking while we've been talking, and this is an interesting image. The curse and the blessing, right? The curse is, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, right? But the blessing is Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and is that Sudan?
Sudan. Yeah.
This
has got to be who? India? There's another green over here that we're not seeing.
Yeah. Well, India, I guess.
Weird.
The blessing goes from Gujarat, India to the Red Sea.
Well, I agree with the first image, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So that was, it's just interesting to see, it's interesting to see how some of the other countries in the world, like American foreign policy is almost centrally revolving around the Israeli question, right? I am both a supporter of Israel and a critic of both Israel and the Israeli lobby in the U.S. So you have to have nuanced positions here.
Well, speaking of the Israeli lobby, they must be doing a number in Russia.
Well, Lavrov reminded the world that Russia is committed to ensuring Israel's security. Well, you don't say. One of the greatest misperceptions in modern times is the notion that Russia is secretly against Israel, which is pushed by the mainstream media and the alt media community. I don't know what the alt media community is.
That's he means, any media outside of Russia. That's what that, like, the alt media here would mean all of our independent journalists and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's hilarious, Lavrov, it's almost as if they have numbers and documents to back that up. But go ahead.
Despite them being one another's rivals, each other in advancing their own ideological interests, I guess that all AMC is probably the right wing kind of, the pundit class that that exists. Mm-hmm. Like, we would probably fall into that.
I agree. I think that's exactly what he's talking about.
Anti-Russian fear-mongering, while the AMC believes this makes people like Russia more. Before explaining why this isn't true here, so he's talking about other stories, and I'm not interested in the other stories. In brief, Russia has always been carefully balanced between Israel and the Iranian-led resistance axis, but it's usually leaning closer to Israel since it never seriously considered sanctioning the self-processed Jewish state, even though it earlier agreed with the UNSC to impose sanctions against the Islamic Republic. To this day, despite loudly advocating for the Palestinians' political and humanitarian cause, Russia won't sanction Israel or arm Hamas. Israel isn't even symbolically designated as an unfriendly country. Let's see. So this is the voice of Lavrov directly. All right, so let's just read his quote. And it's a pretty good quote. When some officials justify their actions by saying that the Jewish people, are victims of the Holocaust and therefore can be forgiven, this is a troubling trend. It's a sign of exceptionalism characteristic of Hitler's Germany and its ideology. I have many friends in Israel. The vast majority of them understand the issue of a Palestinian state must be resolved, and that suppressing the natural rights of the Palestinian people is unacceptable. Personally, I have good relations with many of my Israeli colleagues, including former ones. When speaking about the Middle East policy, President Vladimir Putin highlights Russia's full commitment to the security and fundamental interests of the state of Israel. So the interesting thing here is that Russia is I think they're absolutely nuanced, right? It's kind of like, we're not going to carry the flag for Israel, but at the same time, Israel's got a right to exist and should be able to fight its own battles.
Well, except for that, they're saying they shouldn't be able to fight their own battles when it comes to Palestine, which is why all this is just it's a fucking hilarious doublespeak, right?
Well,
if a nation of Palestine exists, it will be in a constant state of warfare with the nation of Israel. There is
the interesting thing is, if they have to come out of their bomb-created caves in order to vote for a Palestinian government, then ultimately that would be about the only way I think Israel would ever be secure with a Palestinian state, one in which they have a lot of influence.
Yeah. And so this is all
wouldn't it be interesting? Watcher, I've never really thought about this, but I mean, this could work. Wouldn't it be interesting if Israel created a Palestinian state and then made it an Israeli puppet?
I mean, they tried that.
With God, no, the actual they didn't puppet them. They let Hamas become they kind of proved their point. Hamas. They said that was basically the Israeli government saying, "Look, watch, we'll give them freedom and watch what happens." And they voted Hamas in right away in Gaza. I think it literally was the first time they voted. They voted.
They administered that area long before that, though, is what I was saying.
Yeah,
it was flat out a puppet regime. They had local collaborators that were partners in it, but it was the Israelis controlled
it. Which one?
I have to go back and actually look.
Not the one that Hamas.
The one that Hamas overthrew.
And see, I don't think that was. I think that was the old PLO bloc. They're the ones that were the big winners coming out of the late '90s, and they were fat, dumb, and happy, and then Hamas is lean, mean, and pissed off. So.
Well, and Hamas, it might not be true, but it was part of the justification Hamas used for rising to power was that they were puppets of the Israelis.
Well, right, but just because Hamas says they're puppets doesn't mean they are puppets. Like in order to have a good puppet government, they can never be voted out of office. It's like you have to. It's almost like you have to win by any means necessary.
Weird.
Wait a second. Anyway,
shuffling.
Several points stand out from what he said. For starters, while this comparison of Israel's exceptionalist attitude to the Nazis is very unflattering and critical of the self-professed Jewish state, observers should remember that Russia still doesn't regard Israel as an unfriendly country. Putin has also repeatedly praised it. I think Putin's Russia basically just views Israel as a foil for some of its allies in the Middle East. I don't think they have a positive or negative opinion of Russia either way. I mean, of Israel either way.
Well,
Putin has also repeatedly praised it for. Say again.
If you look at who Russia actively partners with in the area, I wonder if there are any countries that are not friends with Israel that Russia gives massive amounts of weapons, aids, and funding to. Maybe sets up S-400s inside their country to help prevent American warplanes from being able to strike terrorist targets or something. I wonder what would give Israel the impression that Russia is not an ally.
Like I said, in the Middle East, the regular rules don't apply. There, you have a lot of strange bedfellows in the Middle East. I'm gonna leave it at that because this is one of those kind of things that we could literally talk about for an entire show. Let's see. Putin has repeatedly praised Israel for remembering the USSR's role in the end of the Holocaust and continuing to commemorate Victory Day on 9 May. Here are 3 examples. Accordingly, the hype from the AMC, meaning the conservative media in America, about Russia supposedly being about to openly turn against Israel is implied by this latest rhetoric doesn't align with the facts. Lavrov even made as much clear in the second part where he said in his interview, not only does he have many friends in Israel, but he also has good relations with his Israeli colleagues. I don't know about that. I mean, let's be honest. I don't trust Lavrov as far as I can throw him. He's a way better, Secretary of State type person than what we've got over here in the U.S. But that doesn't mean I trust Lavrov.
I will say that I trust this statement. Accordingly, any hype from the AMC about Russia supposedly being about to openly turn against Israel, as implied by the latest rhetoric doesn't align with facts. Well, that's true. Russia's not going to openly align with anybody at war at the current moment, because they need to finish the one they have in their own backyard first.
And I think this is a true statement here. Russian diplomats have worked hard to carefully balance between Israel and the Iranian-led resistance axis, which is why this is very disappointing that only a few supporters of the AMC recognize this, instead being convinced that they're all a bunch of liars with transparently anti-Israeli agenda. Anyway, back in the USSR, yeah.
Don't know.
All right. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting take. So Russia is not like a cheerleader for Israel, but they're definitely not who Russia needs to worry about. So what does this mean for the U.S.? All this potential war talk in southern Lebanon, all that kind of stuff. Well, what it means for me is when I think of a U.S. A nominally friendly country to the U.S., it's going to have a lot of U.S. citizens in it, both on official duties and non-official duties. So what does that mean? Well, I think that means that you're basically teeing up the NEO operation that's going to get set up, because you're going to have to get a lot of these Americans out. Earlier this UK and US sent hundreds of troops to Cyprus for Lebanon contingencies. Earlier this week, amidst...
Well, hold on. This is going to be a very unsavory talk. So before we move on, let me just point out that this Huey is in fact doing the looks like a face meme thing at the moment. Hooray!
It's not a Huey.
Or not Huey. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're better than this.
It's a Chinook. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it is doing the meme thing. Ooh.
Yeah, it does look like Pepe, doesn't it, from that angle?
Yep. Anyhow,
earlier this week, amidst escalation between Israel and Hezbollah, with increasing airstrikes hitting Beirut, resulting in commercial air traffic at Beirut's international airport coming to a total halt, the Pentagon has said it's sending more U.S. troops to the region. At least some of them have already arrived in Cyprus, CNN has reported. Dozens of American troops are there, with Pentagon Press Secretary Pat Ryder having confirmed that the U.S. has sent a small number of U.S. military personnel forward to the region out of an abundance of caution. That was always one of my favorite things to put into a statement, out of an abundance of caution. Close U.S. ally, the United Kingdom, has ordered a surge of hundreds to Cyprus along with U.S. troops. This is to prepare for a range of contingencies that would include warships going to the Lebanese coast to conduct emergency evacuations. This is that NEO that we're talking about. NEO, by the way, means non-combatant evacuation operation or order. This support that you're seeing when it comes to the U.S. forces in the region is for our own force protection, and we need to come in and to the defense of Israel, like we saw for the large-scale attack from Iran. Pentagon spokeswoman. So this is interesting. This is a Pentagon spokesperson. Listen to what this Pentagon spokesperson says. The support you're seeing when it comes to U.S. forces in the region is for our own force protection, and this is the critical part. Should we need to come to the defense of Israel, like what we saw during the large-scale attack from Iran? So, what does that mean? That means anti-missile defense. I don't know that we have any boots on the ground inside of Israel that are not like units. You know what I mean? Like actual combat capabilities actually stationed within Israel. I know in the past we've had Patriot batteries there, and I don't know if that's still a thing. We still believe right now that the conflict has been contained to Gaza. This is interesting because she's talking about Gaza, but nobody's thinking about Gaza right now. There's no question that there are higher tensions in the region. There's no question that there's an increase in border clashes on the northern border. That's also interesting. Oh, there's no question that there has been an increase. Okay, I'm sorry, I misread that. The Pentagon has also said the Wednesday briefing that it does not assess the Israel-Hezbollah are yet in a state of all-out war, and while also denying that an Israeli military invasion of Lebanon is imminent, but Israeli forces are currently simulating a potential ground invasion. IDF leadership has told troops to be ready at any moment. you're out of control, Watcher.
Yeah, look, man, it's going to be unpleasant to watch another Neo fail in the worst possible ways. So I'm just preloading the humor now so that we can get through this.
Well, I mean, the good news is that we're at least we're not Neoing our troops out of a combat zone like what we did in the
well, it's true, but we're also going to be doing it with, if I'm not mistaken, significantly less resources than we had available at the time.
That's true. That's true. Let's see. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom's currently had many more troops positioned in Cyprus, ready to help with the contingencies related to the emergency in Lebanon. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced Tuesday that the military is sending 700 more troops to the UK bases on the island nation. You know what? For Britain, the size of Britain's military now,
that's a lot.
Send 700. That's a significant percentage of their total force.
Yeah.
That's like us saying we're going to send a division. The most important message for me this evening is for British nationals in Lebanon to leave immediately, and I want to reinforce that. Yeah, leave immediately and go where?
Wow, it should be recalled that Hezbollah has already issued threats aimed at Cyprus. Months ago,
Yeah.
Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah warned that if Cyprus plays host to IDF jets for bombing runs in Lebanon, it could come under Hezbollah drone attack.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that's likely to happen.
I question that. Yeah.
I think it's the thing there is that IDF jets may use that as a like an emergency landing if they need to, but
I guess so, but I also question Hezbollah's ability to target Cyprus with drones. That it's not exactly a hop, skip, and a jump like it is to cross the Israeli border.
This is true, but if you look at it, so if you go up the map above, yeah, right here. So if you're in southern Lebanon, see where Damascus is. So anywhere south of Damascus inside Lebanon, you're always going to be closer to Israel. So I don't know there's any good reason for them to fly to Cyprus.
Well, and then the second point
unless they're hitting Syria.
The second point of this is also that do you know what is here that is not right here? A shit ton of U.S. assets with anti-aircraft technology. Just saying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Cyprus lies just 150 miles from the Lebanese coast. So yeah, this makes it an excellent staging area to get people out in a hurry.
The Cypriot government should be careful.
Sounds like a threat.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
All right.
I hope you didn't make that threat with a radio.
So why would they need to have U.S. Guided missiles in the ocean near Israel anyway, right? We talk about in helping. Yeah. What are we going to be defending Israel against? Well, something like this. Breaking. Houthi hypersonic missile hit Tel Aviv. Video shows how air defense missiles chase it, but failed to catch the super fast missile.
Well, hold on, let me get that.
I don't know that that's what we're seeing here, but
I don't know that either.
That is not.
I also question
this. This is interpretation, but
I also question the Houthis having a hypersonic. I know everybody wants to say it's Iran's, but I also question Iran having hypersonic technology. Huh. Yeah, I'm no, that's not a hypersonic missile.
Well, here's what I think it is, Watcher. I think a missile was intercepted outside the atmosphere by either a David sling or an arrow or maybe even like an SM-3, and this is that same missile now breaking up, coming into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think that's probably a lot more accurate. But T's gotta be in there.
You know, every time I think I've brain dumped the name Hootie and the Blowfish from my memory, somebody brings it up and reminds me.
Yup. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to discuss the possibility of sorry, here we go. Watcher's advice is solid. Question everything except hitting that like button. Correct.
Very good. Absolutely. If you're not hitting the like button, you're not doing it right, guys. Let's see, where are we at on like buttons over? So only 30. I see. Here's what I don't understand. We've got 190 people right now watching us over on Rumble, but only 33 of you guys have actually taken the time to hit the like button over there.
Rumble like button must be very heavy.
It's like sticky or something. Yeah, let me know if that Rumble like button's sticky, and let's see if we can't get that to go up here. Let me
you know what? I have an idea on how we can get that to go up, because Scott, it's that time of a Friday show where we're no longer welcome on YouTube.
This is true. This is our final international story. We're heading over to the domestic stuff. So if you would please transition at this point to our AMC, right? Alternate Media channel over on Rumble. Here, the link is in the chat. That will take you directly to our show. Final thoughts, Watcher, for those so stubborn that they won't go over to Rumble?
Yeah, just remember that YouTube is fleeting. Even the economic of YouTube has started to tumble over the last couple of years, and if you are so entrenched that you refuse to move, just know that our time together may be drawing to a close. So I highly recommend you give up on your stubbornness and just make the transition to either X or Rumble. And I mean that in the long term and permanently. I'm not saying we're going to shut down our YouTube presence. I'm saying I don't know if YouTube will be a company over the next 2 years.
Fair enough. And on that bombshell, let's move over to our Bungie news table.
2, 0, 1.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone.
3, 6, 4, 6.
The chair is against the wall.
3, 6.
The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache.
8, 2, 5.
John has a long mustache.
8, 2, 5, 0, 9.
It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.